All right, guys. Hey, welcome to tonight's live stream. Want to welcome everybody. Thank you
All
for
right, guys. Hey,
following us up
welcome
here
to
on.
tonight's live stream. Want to welcome everybody. Thank you.
All right, guys.
There's
Hey,
an echo.
welcome to tonight's live stream. Want to welcome everybody. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Hey, welcome to tonight's live stream.
Everybody shut down your YouTubes
All right, guys.
if y'all have them
Hey,
up.
welcome to tonight's live stream. Everybody shut down your YouTubes.
Let me make sure.
It's not on my end.
It was me.
That's okay, Robin.
It's
No
okay,
problem.
Robin.
That's all right. No problem. Hey, welcome to
Cheers.
that's right. Yeah, we all drinked up, so we're good here. We're ready for tonight. Oh, May, I like your cup. What is it? Your zip code or what? Your area code? 919?
Look how shiny.
Nice.
I
Nice.
like it.
I'll show mine off. Mine was a reject from tonight's project, but
It
we're gonna
doesn't
use
look
it.
like it.
What do you got over there, Robin?
A mason jar.
Very nice.
Is that moonshine?
No, this is actually water.
Are you sure?
Yeah, this is. It's funny. My file club group always asks me whenever we do reveals. They're like, "Is that water?" Because it's typically vodka. So, but no, tonight it's actually water.
Awesome. We've got some people online and some are going to jump over. So appreciate that for everybody jumping on via YouTube. So again, this is our Wednesday night live streams that May and I have kind of been hosting. This is what our 4th edition here. And so thank you, Robin, for coming on. We'll do an introduction of yourself in a second. But May and I have been enjoying these, and we're trying to bring to the Laser Lounge kind of a different kind of content, right? We're talking about business things. We're talking about technical stuff. We also want to bring in some vendors and companies and talk about what their product lines are going to be coming out next year and then the 5-year plan. So we want to bring a different thing to the laser community just to educate and hear about what's around the corner. So we want to appreciate you coming tonight, Robin, and we want to introduce yourself. But before you do, I want to give an icebreaker real quick. Let's say that you're driving and you're on a road trip and you're stopping at a 7-Eleven or we used to call them Stop and Rob. They're like, little gas stations where you can go in and get something to eat. What would be your snack grab and go thing? What snack and what drink would you get?
Oh, probably a Diet Coke, Andy Capp's hot fries, and maybe a bag of Twizzlers.
Okay, nice.
Depends on the length of the drive, right?
Yeah, that's good. What about you, May?
I like the twisty Fritos, the barbecue flavor. That's my go-to road trip guilty pleasure. And I'll probably have a Coke Zero too.
Okay, very nice. I'd probably be grabbing some beef jerky, maybe some, jerky sticks, and maybe some sour candies, Sour Patch Kids, and probably either an iced tea, unsweet, or lemonade. That would be mine.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Yum. Awesome. I always like to ask a little bit of random question there just to get to know people. So Robin, Marsh, we love having you in here. And the reason why I've kind of been watching you, and when I first started getting into the laser industry, I bought several of your files, and I'd like to hear kind of your backstory first, but you have really excelled in the digital file arena. And I admire your work and your hustle that you've done there. And I've seen how you've just kind of plateaued and taken off. And so that's really why we wanted to have you in here, is to kind of pick your brain, share with others, kind of what that space is like. So give us a little bit of background of introduction of yourself and your journey. And then we're just kind of going to ask you some questions just to kind of learn from you.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I actually listed my first file back in January of 2020. And, leading up to that, I was corporate world. I was making 6 figures, but I was behind a desk and I hated my life. And my husband had this opportunity that moved us. And so I had to quit my job. And I went down this path of, I've always been creative and I want to do something in the art world. And so I played in a bunch of different fine art mediums before I even discovered lasers. So I was doing copper etchings and more recently wildlife illustrations that were extremely detailed. Well, I got a laser initially. I got the Glowforge initially to be an extension of my artwork. Okay, so I was selling large fine artwork pieces, but I wanted to be able to make, you know, cutting boards or, you know, ornaments, whatever, to sell to go along with my illustrations. Well, I discovered, first of all, very quickly that the Glowforge does not engrave very fast. So I ended up having to kind of change my thought process there. And my husband got another promotion, which moved us again. So we moved Ohio to Florida to Washington and back to Ohio. And we got here in, like, I would say, we moved in November of 19. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I wasn't going to keep doing the illustrations because it was really a Washington-based theme that I was doing. And I made this file for my mom for Christmas. And it was my Chinese checkers game board. And I shared it on one of the sites, one of the laser groups. And someone's like, well, can you share the file? I'm like, I guess. So January 7th, 2020, I listed my first digital file, and it kind of just snowballed. I mean, I had no idea this world of digital file sales even existed. And after the first year, I had sold about 24,000 files on Etsy.
It's crazy. I've seen some of your numbers because you can go and look at a shop, and at the top, I think left and see like sales.
Yeah, the performance.
Yeah,
So
and it's just
incredible.
like I was looking at yours one, like it had to have been last year, and just going, dang.
yeah. Now, I mean, most of my business has now moved to my website.
Yeah.
So my Etsy isn't really reflecting what the business truly is at this point.
Yeah.
Etsy kind of like my
Starter.
it was my starter, but it's also now just my kind of my passive income.
Yeah.
I don't really advertise it. It's just a way for new people to find me.
Okay, so it's there. It's still
there.
active.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I add stuff to it, but it's not anything I promote.
Okay. So you don't pay for ads now because you have a standalone website. That was my next question. It's like, you know, for people out there that want to start selling files. I know Alicia started selling files and she keeps telling me, May, come on, sell some files. But I'm like,
Yeah.
No.
And so it's interesting. And that's what we really want to dive into. I probably only have like 3 or 4 up there. My site kind of stinks, but I only sell at 3 or 4 and they've done well. And I'm not that great of a designer. And that's why I tell May, you're a great designer, but there's always 2 sides to the sword, right?
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I can only imagine, you know, if I'm doing 2 or 3 and I'm thinking, this is great, but not when how many actual files do you think you have up there roughly? Are we talking 100?
I'm over 200 at this point.
Wow.
But they've gotten, I'm not known for easy files.
Yeah.
I'm not your typical,
welcome round sign. You're like the very, you know what, before you answer that, if I said, tell me about Robin's files, they're very geometric and they're very awesome. They're eye-catching.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're unique.
Talent.
Yeah. They're
Absolutely.
unique. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see your file and know it's a It file.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. That's what I strive for. I actually, it seems like that's helped me in the sense of I don't design what other people are designing. I design what I think is trending in the home goods marketplace, or what I think, you know, is trending just overall as like a giftable. So like, as an example, I've really latched onto higher end heirloom looking games. And they've done great. And people are selling them for, $100 to $150 a piece. And, I'm loving it. Like I'm able to make something look really beautiful and cool that someone can give to a loved one and be really excited about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's definitely beautiful work. I would say my best-selling ornament was your robin ornament. Or the cardinal.
The cardinal?
Yeah.
Cardinal, yes.
It was
all over. Yeah.
It was. I hired a high school girl and said, "You're going to make, however many of these it was," but they were just stunners. So kudos to what you do, though. How much of your portfolio would you say is in digital files, if you don't mind? Is it like 80%?
100%.
Okay, so you're all in on that.
I'm all in 100% digital files.
So when you get up in the morning, what's your typical day like? I mean, do you come and you're continuing, or you brainstorm a little bit, or how long does it take you to make a file? I'm just kind of curious of what that looks like.
Yeah. So thank you, Donna. It depends on my week, and where I am with the file club files. So most of my energy now is devoted to file club and those files that I'm creating for them.
Yeah.
So, it's typically first I got to get my walk in, trying to be an avid walker. Take care of yourself. It's very
I need to do that more. I do it about once or twice a week.
You can't work if you don't take care of yourself. But typically I just get to my desk. I got my iPad playing my, oh my goodness. iPad playing, my Netflix.
Them.
Well, it's awesome. You guys, I love my customers and I love my club members. So I'll sit down.
Yep.
What's that?
You get your walk in and then you come into the shop.
Yep. And then I typically will go through to see what's selling in different marketplaces if I'm working on a design or trying to come up with an idea. So like I will shop places like Magnolia, Anthropology, Ballard Designs, Restoration Hardware. I like to go and look at those and see kind of what's going to be happening or what's trending or what I can expect. And I typically will try to get 3 solid ideas for my file club. And then I just sit down and start designing. I typically start on my iPad drawing, and then using Illustrator for iPad, because it will draw in a vector. So anyone that wants to make files, I know people love Procreate, but if you want to draw in a vector, just use Illustrator.
It's so much better.
Yeah, it's so much better. And so then I'll use that. And then once I get it to a point where I'm excited about the design and I don't feel like I need to continue to use my pencil, I will transport it into my desktop and finish all of the actual formatting, also in Illustrator.
Yep.
And, once I've got the designs done, then I roll into writing instructions, filming a YouTube video, taking all my marketing photos, doctoring them up in Photoshop, listing them. Oh, and by the way, answering questions, for all the questions that roll in.
Yeah, so that's probably the part that people don't really understand how much time takes. And, May and I were talking about this a little bit offline. That's kind of we were repairing, and she was, we were asking, well, does she take pictures? Do you allow people to use your pictures, or go ahead, May, your question.
One of the things that, I've seen in our community, there'll be designers first, they don't have time to photograph their files like you do. You'll mock it up yourself. You'll take pictures, tweak it. And then when it's ready to launch, that's how you market it. Right. And so I've seen other people, use other makers to test their files. So that's great when you don't have time. But then I've seen also another side of file makers out there that are creating it and then doing the photography, the marketing images, and then letting the other makers use their picture as a selling point. So I've seen it. What's your
So
what's your view on it?
yeah, so it's tough because I provide marketing photos for my club members only.
Okay.
What's the name of your club? Go ahead and tell us your URL.
It's a WHC File Club or Welcome Home Custom File Club, and
Okay,
the
thank you.
link, I will be opening it. I've had it closed off for open enrollment for 4 months, so I am opening enrollment for September. Yep. So I let them use the marketing photos for the club. However, I don't always necessarily feel that is the best route for my customers to use. I offer it as a service, and mostly so I can compete with other designers. But I do, I am concerned if folks are not used to making my files or have not made my files before or using different materials, they're not using the same wood. I'm concerned if they don't make it and then they use the photo to sell it, how are they going to, what happens if they don't know how to make it or if something happens? Yeah. So I do always recommend that they can use it to gain interest or to gain, get an idea if they're
test their market kind of deal.
Like it,
Yeah.
But once they go to list it, I do recommend that they take their own photos just so they know they can make it.
Exactly. And that's what I like. I'd like to see, especially let's say if I buy your file and I make it, your process is different from my process. And the materials that I'm using might be different from your materials too. And so the output is totally different.
Yep.
So those are the kind of things that, kind of like make me wonder sometimes, like, how do people navigate through that? And
so I will say that what's going to happen is if you end up providing a product that looks that much different, you're probably going to get a bad review.
Yeah.
Right. That's my biggest concern. And I don't want my customers to get bad reviews. So that is my biggest concern. Right.
So we have Jessica here. She's saying, I never use anyone else's photos.
Yep.
So I agree with that.
Good practice, I mean,
it really is for someone that's selling a finished good. I would use my own photos,
especially, your files are like, they're a level up, right? And so you better make sure that you're cutting some things right,
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you know how to make it. Like the quilts, my group, they're making these crazy quilts. I mean, huge, 36 by 24 and 24 by 24 inch quilts. And they're selling them for $300 a piece. I mean, they are rocking. It is awesome. But these are not turn and burn files. Like you really need to sit down and make sure it's something you want to make.
Yeah.
I think that's something important to note. Like, do you really want to make this file? Is this what you want to be known for? Because if you go sharing this photo, get ready.
Yeah. How does that, Robin? Yeah. Go ahead, May.
Oh no, it's a commitment. I like what you said there. It's not a burn and what did you say?
Turn and burn.
Turn and burn. I think that should. I mean, it's like you learn by burning. And so it's not just an easy thing where you buy a file and expect magic to happen. You kind of need to put some work into it too.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to say, how does that feel, to know when your maker customers come back and say, I sold this and it just, I sold it for $300 and this is the profit I'm getting. I bet that feels great, doesn't it?
Because, it's awesome.
Because you're getting to see that side of it that I'm sure you hear from them of, I took what you made and made this physical thing and not only made some money with it, but they're excited to see that their skills were pushed. I bet that's awesome to feel that.
Yeah, I actually just started a new contest this month, and it's been pretty cool. So there's a lot of people that will just they're in the club and they haven't actually made a file yet because they're intimidated. Like I don't make just like a round disc that you engrave. Like that's not what I do, right?
Yeah.
And so I started a contest this month, and it's called Just Make It Already. Just make it already. And all they have to do is make one of the 3 files, right?
Yep.
All they have to do is make one of the 3 files that I released in August, and they're entered into a contest, and they can win a free month.
Damn,
Wow,
I need to get into
Right?
I need to get into your club. I feel like I'm like the loser outside of the club.
I'm a FOMO now. I need to join the club.
But I mean, the thing is like people are so scared to make these things, but I make it so easy to make them, right? I try to lay it out. They're still time consuming, but that's a good file, right?
Yeah, I think I have about 3 of your files that I bought maybe 2 years ago that I haven't made. One of them I think is some farm animal one that had some mosaic stuff. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Oh, I remember that one. That one is cool.
Yeah.
I do
Is
love
it
that.
And then there's some farm animal. I can't remember what it is. I'll find it. I don't know if it was a chicken or a cow or something. You do have some farmish looking thing. It's a long time ago. Yeah. I haven't made it yet.
If it's the barn, don't make it yet.
But yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm glad that those have taken off. So one of the questions I have for you is, everybody thinks, oh, well, I made a file and somebody bought, someone liked it, I can sell and just put it up on Etsy. And it doesn't always work that way. There's a hard side of it, right? What I might call the ugly side. There's the support side. There's someone calls you and says, hey, how do I do this? Like I've gotten a couple calls recently for my whiskey, bourbon bar one, and they're Cricut people, right? And it's like, well, that really was a laser file and not a Cricut file. So then I ended up making a Cricut barrel so that they could, because no way you could weed that. And so there's some care and feeding behind the scenes in addition to that passive income area, right? So what have you kind of been challenged with? Just kind of educate people that the rougher side that maybe we don't see so that they know what they're getting into.
Yeah. I mean, so you just think about the laser market overall and look at the floods of folks that are coming in that have never used a laser before.
Yeah.
And then they buy your file. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to get a lot of questions. You're going to train a lot. That's just part of your job. You are going to train, and you're going to do a lot of hand holding. And even if you do all of that, you still may get a 1 star. And it wasn't even anything you could control. It was because they didn't know how to unzip a file, or because they wanted to print it out on paper so they could trace it, but it's a laser file that's not made to be printed and traced, right? So you're going to have those. You're going to have those instances, and it's a learning experience. I now know so much more than I did when I started. I only had the Glowforge. And so I was speaking in Glowforge terms, and, other laser people are like, what's a score? How do you, what's that? And so that took, just learning about all the different lasers. And I will say that owning 2 different lasers has made a huge difference because now I can speak in so many more lingos than I could before. But just, you're going to have to learn the ins and outs and be patient. And if someone comes to you with a problem, figure out how you can fix it, right? Even if it's just teaching them how to unzip their file.
Yeah. You are very patient.
Yeah, you definitely are. So do you create like a Glowforge version and then a more of a commercial kind of or larger scale version file, or is it just one?
So I have So I'm going to use my quilts as an example. So like a quilt I'm working on right now is, I say quilt, it's actually a scene, a landscape scene. And my File Club members that are watching, that's all you get. I'm not telling you anything else. So it's this big scene, and I now offer it in 4 different versions. Like, so every large piece I make is 4 versions. So I'll offer a DIY version, which is what I would call the Glowforge. Yeah. So it's a small format. They can cut in the Glowforge, no problem. I do a cut by color, so they can cut all the pieces of the quilt, and then I add an offset for kerf, so the piece is tight, and that can be cut in Glowforge. Then I offer what is a large master file. So if you have a laser that can cut 36 by 24, you could throw the whole thing in your laser and cut it all at once. And then I do a separated master where all the pieces are still together, but they're separate. Yeah. So that if you want to resize it and you want to make it 48 by, let's say 36, you could, but then you would have to move your pieces out. So I try to offer a lot of different options now, so that down the road, when someone says, well, can I resize it to this? Now I can easily say, yes, you can. And this is how you do it.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. Having the variety. I like that.
Yeah.
You've thought of every single thing, and now that you've listed all the different files in my head, oh my gosh, I mean, that's exactly what I need. You know, if you want to be challenged, you go the next harder file to tackle.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think Alicia and I were talking prior to this, and we're just kind of like brainstorming, what should we ask Robin? And one of the things that I remember, I can't remember what group it was, but I feel like it happens quite frequently. I don't know if it's happening now that you have your standalone, like the people that are stealing your files. So how are you navigating that, situation?
So there's really kind of two camps there, right? There's the folks that are truly stealing my files, where it's a shop that has just come out of nowhere, and they've obviously stolen everyone's picture off of Etsy. They're using my pictures, and then they're not actually sending any files. Okay, so there's that one. That one is very easy to shut down. You just contact Etsy. It's pretty obvious how bad it is, right? Because it's just, I mean, we're pretty good. The designers in the designer world, we're all pretty good about knowing who's designed what. We reach out to each other, say, hey, you've got this. You might want to shut it down, right? And then you have kind of what I call the copycats, right? That they take your idea and they change it just enough and call it their own, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Just enough. And so for me, like, I used to get so upset about it. I would get so upset about it. I'm like, I just spent a week working on this file, and now someone has just made their own version of it. I mean, it hurts. It sucks. You got to have thick skin. And at this point, I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to continue to try to stay ahead of the trend and continue to release new and fresh stuff. I don't use any clip art. I draw everything from scratch. It's mine typically when you see one of my files, and that's all I can do.
No, I think there's always going to be, snakes out there and people doing that. We've got a couple of makers that are designers actually, that we hear about, oh my God, someone's stealing my work, and, go shut it down. And, that we've got a small group of admins for Facebook where if we share that knowledge and then we'll go pull them down from Facebook groups if we see it. So we're kind of trying to work that backside for designers like yourself and making sure that the imposters were pulling them out. But you're right. You have to have thick skin and move on and know that they're probably not going to sell those files anyway. And it'll catch up.
Or, you don't even know, you don't even know the quality of the file either.
Sure.
But it is what it is. I mean,
what do you use for your what do you design in? Like, let's just talk about the technical aspect of it. Are you an Illustrator person, or do you use Corel, or what do you use?
I am 100% Illustrator, and but I have Corel, Silhouette Business, Inkscape, all on my desktop, so that if people have questions on how to resize slots or something like that, I can answer.
Yeah,
that's smart.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Because not everyone can afford Illustrator, and not everyone's going to use Inkscape, and some people love Silhouette Business.
Yeah.
And so, and that's why I also keep my, I'm mirrored. That's why I bring my, keep my Glowforge around, because then I can, if someone has a question about Glowforge, I can open it up and I can answer their question. But no, 100% Illustrator, I feel, is the most robust out of all of them. And at this point, it's just like I know so much with it now, it would be hard to move to anything else.
Yeah. Another technical question, now that Alicia brought it up, coming from Glowforge, I too, I'm a Glowforge OG. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we've all grown. But do you love the Lightburn interface, when you load your Illustrator file? I feel like, as a designer myself, I kind of like that. I didn't like Glowforge, loading my files in there. What do you prefer? Like, do you mind the Glowforge interface, or do you like Lightburn? Like, what do you prefer?
I like Lightburn only because it's more robust.
Yeah.
I mean, it just has more options, right? Yeah. So you are able to tweak it more to what you need. Glowforge is just it's not static, but it's kind of, there's just not, I don't feel like there's a lot you can do.
Yeah. I haven't used it or opened it in a while, but I remember just before selling my Glowforge, I went and, loaded up the website, the app, and it gave me an option to add like shapes. And I think that's subscription, right? Is that a thing? Like, I can't even remember like what.
It's all there. It's all premium. It's all premium stuff.
So you have to pay for that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And it's about the cost of Illustrator.
Are you serious? How much is it?
Well, it depends on when you buy it. Because I want to say it's like between 20 and, is it like 20? I think it's like 20 a month.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
We've talked about this before because, I don't know if you know this, but May's actually a brand ambassador for Adobe, but
I did know that.
Yeah. So Illustrator is very, very powerful when you get to learn it.
Yeah, it's not intuitive at all.
No, it's not. I would not say that I'm not even intermediate yet, but it's been about 3 years that I've been using it. But I forced myself to do the tutorials that are free on their site.
Yeah.
But I feel like even if I took somebody's crappy file and there were some bad nodes, I could go in there and easily move, fix, line things up. And it's just so easy to do things with. So it's always nice to hear kind of, what people are designing in and what their preference is. Who knows, one day maybe Adobe will have it to where you can send to a laser.
That would be awesome.
Maybe you need to tell them that, May.
Yeah. I know, right? Hey, I need to whisper it in somebody's ear over in Adobe. Actually, we have a meeting tomorrow. It's nice to see your evolution from like your story, how you shared a picture, a project of what you have started, and then now a lot of people are like showing interest, and then you listed the file, and then it just kind of blew up from there.
It just blew up. It was crazy.
And it's only been really 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I launched 2020. Yeah,
Yeah.
January 2020.
That's crazy kind of
Yeah.
growth. I mean, that
Right.
just shows that your skills and how
Yeah.
awesome you are.
I
Oh.
remember, I don't know if
Yeah,
you
my
remember this. Were we on the phone or just chatting? I think I asked you about I wanted to quilt my North Carolina shape.
Yes.
Yeah, we were chatting, and you were in the process of building that website. And I remember you said how painful it was to transfer so many files.
It was awful. I still haven't done what I should. You know, to go back, like I want to go back and just reshoot all my files, but I think to myself, like, do I really want to go back and cut?
Don't do it, girl. Don't.
That's a
Right?
lot of
You know,
work.
so I'm like, maybe I'll just delist the files and I'm just gonna walk away.
So
I'm
I don't
just
know
gonna-
if you're gonna know the answer to this one, but how many of your buyers or your people are from the quilt world? I know that we've got a lot of quilt people that bought lasers that just love kind of that look. You know, we saw Kathy, right? I think she's from the quilt space, right?
Mhm.
How do you hear from feedback from people? No.
No. I mean, I know quite a few really like the quilts.
Yeah.
And I know of some that quilt because they'll mention, you know, oh, well, I was working on this file, but then I decided to take time and quilt instead. But I don't know the total
Yeah.
amount. No. But
So
it definitely comes up every so often.
Jessica said she's a quilter.
Mm-hmm.
There's Kathy Ray.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I knew Kathy was.
I don't know if Alicia's got the top. I don't know. I think it's a question everybody wants to hear. You're saying you have 200 files total, right?
Yeah, a little over.
Okay, so out of that, what is your top 5 bestsellers?
Oh Lord, I don't know.
Top 5? That's just a
Top 5?
constant.
Just in general.
My file club.
That's a good one. That's probably the best.
That's the best.
Probably like my memorial set with the rocking chair.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one.
The rocking chair and the bench and the gosh, what else is in there? The
I love
crib.
the flag.
What's that?
The flag.
I have the flag.
The flag. I love.
I've made the flag.
Yeah.
Oh,
American.
sorry.
Oh,
Look at her. She's like that.
That was well, did you make the big flag?
I didn't make a big one, but I have that red, white, and blue one.
Make the small one. Okay, I was gonna say the big one. I haven't. That's one of my old files I didn't number yet, and now I number them. So like you can put your wood in with the good side down, and then you cut and score the numbers on the back. So it becomes like this paint by number kind of thing.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's great. But my old files, like that's an example. Like I want to go back and fix those and add numbers to everything because it makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
But so no, so you said you asked what top 5, right? So probably and then the triangle tree animals.
Yeah.
Both the big and then the ornaments.
Yeah, I have the ornament one.
Yeah. And then probably one of my first quilts I listed. It's a real basic kind of Navajo design. But it's a really hot seller.
Where are you a quilter, or where did this kind of come from?
You know what? I love geometric pattern, and I saw a wood quilt from someone that was using probably like a not scroll saw, but a probably doing it just ripping wood
on a miter, maybe,
or something.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? And this is kind of how I always approach all my laser designs and my laser files. Is I'm like, you know what? That is really cool.
Yeah.
How can I make that work in a laser? Right. So I was like, I want to be able to make something that's big and impressive and artwork. But I want to be able to cut it on my Glowforge. So that's where my cut by color kind of process came from. I didn't even know where I was going with that.
No,
But-
we were just talking about
No,
some of
I
your
like
awesome
yeah,
files.
I like the thought process behind it. It's kind of nice to see, like how put your vision into like your laser design.
Yeah, I kind of, and this is no offense to laser cutters or laser cut goods, but my goal is to make my files, once they're complete, not look like they've been cut with a laser.
Yeah. A piece of art. You want it to look like a piece of art.
I want it to look, like it's like an artisan, like handmade type item.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
It's funny you say that. And, talking about complicated designs, I think I took a screenshot or maybe sent it to Alicia. I follow Magnolia, and they just did a little, sneak peek of their floor design. I don't know if you saw it. It was all laser cut. And then there was a tree installation. I think it was done in, using a CNC. And then they also added a new element from the bottom. They have the grass wood silhouette, and then they added some sort of dandelion, a wooden one. And I thought that was brilliant. I kind of want to go visit now.
I know. Yeah, they do really
look at
cool stuff. They actually they sprinkle in laser cut stuff for sure in their store to sell. I mean, if you go and look during the holidays, they'll have laser cut advent calendars.
Yeah. They're like 2 hours from me, May.
Okay.
That's why you got to come visit Paint Ranch.
That's right. Robin, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm ready.
So, Robin, there's people out here that are listening or that will listen later, and they're like, oh, I can make files. I can do that on Etsy or whatever. What advice would you give to someone that was thinking about opening an Etsy to sell their digital files? Like kind of some learnings, like, you need to have a certain skill level and you need to be ready for this. Like what kind of high level would you give advice?
Number one, I would say if you don't own a laser, don't make a laser cut file. And
do?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Do that.
100%. I can, and I know May can probably see it too, but I can spot a mock-up a mile away.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When it's not been cut with a laser and you can see that it's like
so
the
easy.
The faux wood, I'm like, that's not actually been cut, guys.
Okay, so own a laser. At least
so number one, I would say, please own a laser if you're going to cut laser files. And the reason I say that is because you are going to get so many questions, like we talked about earlier, about how do I cut this file? Or you need to be able to see, like, if you cut something, like this isn't a good example, but if you cut something, how thin are you cutting it? Like, are you going to cut it and it's just going to break apart? What is your experience as a customer when you cut one of your files? You won't be able to do any of that if you don't own a laser. So that's number one. You really need to own a laser if you're going to cut laser files or design laser files.
Yeah.
And then I would say try to, if you can, offer it in more than one format. Just because lasers all do funky things with other, different formats. Between, I do SVG, EPS, PDF, and DXF. I don't offer AI files, and I really should. I just, for whatever reason, just haven't. But provide several formats if you can. Test all your files, going back to owning a laser.
Yeah.
And then, yes, exactly, be original. If you are using clip art, number one, you really shouldn't. You're going to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
But be original, 100%. Because if you're just doing what, let's say, what Hobby Lobby is offering, or if you're just designing what other designers are designing, what is truly making you different and stand out?
Yeah.
You know, it might be cute, but it looks just as cute as the next one, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
figure out what that is going to make you different from the rest of the pack. Now, for me, like I would say, it's Robin makes complicated files. You know, that's just
They're not complicated. They're good files and good
well,
files.
they're not. Yeah, they're not complicated. They look complicated.
Yeah.
And some of them will command a higher price point. But you're not going to be able to just turn and burn them. Like you're not going to be able to just put a piece of wood in and engrave it and go. Like that's just not what I do.
No.
And so, yeah, I mean, figure out like, what do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
Do you want to be known for round signs? Great. You know, make the best round signs you can.
Yeah.
Now make sure that you're, you know, zooming in and making sure your nodes are all lined up. You know, I've opened some files where it's like, you know, things aren't connected and
they're wonky. You have to go in and do, you know, 20 minutes of work for a $5 file you bought, and you're like, oh my God, I need my money back. No, that's great advice. I appreciate that. I'm going to ask one more question that I think a lot of new file salespeople, I'm seeing it as an admin of a group. They want to post their files in Facebook groups to sell them, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of become what I'm going to call an annoyance. I call them file fishermen. How did you, you know, get started? Because you never did that, but how did you like start your file sales business without, you know, how should a new person try to do that without getting in trouble for file fishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did share my files in the groups, but I did in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
I will never go and post somewhere and say, I sold a ton of this. This is amazing. Like, this is like the hottest seller ever. You know why I'll never say that? Because I only sell files. You know, like, I'm never going to go out and tell everyone that, like, this is so awesome. You'll make tons of money. Those drive me crazy. But I do love to share, like, if I made something cool, I'm like, dude, I feel awesome about this. Check it out. I would say, like, be respectful of the group that you're posting in. If the group doesn't allow you to share a file, don't share a file.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not that hard.
Thanks for saying that.
Exactly. And, you know, now we have groups that are just file shares. I mean, there's like one for just ornaments, right? Go there, right?
Exactly. Go to the groups that allow you to do that.
Yeah.
And be respectful of the groups that don't. If they have, like, don't you guys have one day or one post?
Only Wednesday today.
Yeah, so you can share it then. Be respectful of the group. That's
absolutely,
you know, that's the biggest thing.
So I'm gonna ask one more question and then I'll let you go because I want to be respectful every time. How much of your work do you have in your house? And I ask that because we're all like, what is it? The cobbler with, you know, the children had no shoes.
Yeah.
I can go into my bathroom right now and it's all crap I bought at Hobby Lobby, which I have to change, right? And so I have a feeling May's pretty good about it, but I'm just kind of curious if you have your own made stuff in your house or.
So I actually have more of my illustrations in my house than I do my laser stuff.
Okay.
So I've got let's see here, like 4 of my illustrations up downstairs. I do have my macrame trees. I made these like macrame tie tree thingies for holidays last year. And because it's just wood and white macrame, they haven't actually been taken off my mantle yet.
It can stay up all year.
That's what I figured, right? I mean, there's trees in my backyard and they're not green and red. So that's the only thing I have up. Oh, wait, no, I do have an M up. Oh, and I have my calendar up.
Okay, well, you got more than me.
Yeah.
I don't know what May's got going on over there, but
my fireplace that was done with my glow forge. I guess one of the first few jobs I did, it was actually a thrifted frame. My neighbor down the street, down by the cul-de-sac, was going to take it to the dump. And I went shopping before she left. I said, "Hey, what are you going to do with that frame? It looks cool. Can I have it?" She's like, "Yeah, go ahead." And then I had her over for coffee, and she's like, "What is that?" I said, that's what you gave me. And she's like, "Can I have it back?" I said, "No."
I mean, that's great. I love it.
That's a great story, May. I appreciate that. That's a great story. Well, listen, Robin, I want to wrap it up here to be respectful of your time. You are one of our guests that May and I targeted early on and said, we got to get Robin in here because not only do I respect your hustle of, hey, she's doing a bang up job in the piece of the revenue that could be like, hey, you can sell files, you can sell blanks, you can sell products, you can, consult, you can be an influencer. There's all types of ways to make money.
100%.
So, very respectful for what you do. We've observed you from the side. You do a bang up job and top notch at the very top of designers and makers. So kudos to you. I appreciate you being on here. How can somebody find you online, get in your club? I know it may be a waiting list. How can they buy your files? Give us a little shout out of your social media if you need to.
Yeah. So Facebook probably is the easiest way to find me. It's just Welcome Home Custom Designs. And then my website's welcomehomecustom.com. And then there is a link there on the website if you want to know more about the File Club.
Hey, I need to get in the File Club.
It's fun. You make some cool stuff.
Yeah. May, any final questions to Robin?
I think she's answered all of those key questions that, I've been thinking about and that we've been discussing. And I am, a 100% Robin fan. And I know we've talked and I just, admire you and I love seeing your growth. And just keep rooting for you, girl. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you. I love both of you guys too. You guys are awesome.
What's your Etsy store, girl?
Same thing. Welcome Home Custom Designs.
Okay, perfect. Y'all can go find her there. Do we expect some ornaments to be coming out soon for the new line, or is what you have up there ready for 2022 Christmas? Or do I need to go to the club?
I'm so behind.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. It depends on the club. So the club, they vote on what's going to be exclusive. So like they really like hold the torch. So it really depends on them what they vote on.
All right. Well, we need them to get to voting. September is my
I did make a really cool ornament set, and they're like, "Nope, we want that for a year." I'm like, "Sorry, everyone else."
Robin, I know I have your information. So when Alicia sends out the recording, we'll type up your links and information if you're okay with that. Yeah. That way, the people that are watching on playback and listening on podcasts, they can click and join your club.
Awesome. Well, listen, Robin, keep it up. Keep up that great work. Keep that mind going and designing. And I tell you, I feel the same way too about May. I respect the designers in this space because it's easy just to push a button or to change a color and say start. But the real skill, I think, comes into the design aspect of what we do. And it really separates you and sets you apart. So have a wonderful night, Robin and May. I appreciate you joining us again. And we'll see y'all on the next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.